Nick Evans, thanks for joining me. I don't want to be rude, but Andrew Forrest seems to have gone a little bit nuts with global warming. What do you think's going on?
I think there's a few things going on. I don't know about mad, but I think he's certainly... Look, I've been following Fortescue and Andrew Forrest for, a good 12 years now, and he certainly seems to be more Andrew-like with every every time he sort of comes out in public. He's always had these kind of obsessions with a particular issue. He was sort of, evangelical almost around the modern slavery thing. He's had these enormous passions. This has gone for a really long time, but I tend to agree. He's sort of becoming, I guess, more passionate and arguably, making less sense on occasion than any time I've seen him through my career.
Listen, Nick, it was you who really told the world, gosh, here he is, Andrew Forrest, signing $200 billion of deals or indicative deals or memoranda of understanding, whatever, involving hydrogen, even though his core business is iron ore. What is happening with all those green hydrogen deals? Because you believe that they seem to be rather grandiose, these plans, and not necessarily well considered.
I was actually thinking about that on the way to the studio, Andrew. I think that was almost 2 years ago that we spoke about that particular story, or close to. What's happened to them? Well, we are still waiting on the numbers about profits and cost to build for any one of them. So the current position of the old, what used to be called Fortescue Future Industries, back when I was writing about it then, is now called Fortescue Energy, has its own CEO within the business. They are saying by the end of the year that they will hope to get final investment decision on 5 projects. Now, not one of those projects have they published a number to shareholders, to investors, to analysts, the media, saying this is what we're looking at, this is how much it's going to cost to build, this is how much it's going to cost to produce the hydrogen, this is how much we think we'll be able to sell it for, and this is the profit we expect over time. We haven't had, out of all of those big plans from developed over the last 3 years, we've seen hard numbers on none of them. By the end of the year, in theory, we'll see hard numbers on 4 to 5 of them. I guess we'll see whether they deliver.
So, but up to now, Andrew Forrest and the government, the Albanese government, the energy minister at any rate, have been suggesting that hydrogen is a fuel of our future and a huge part of our future. Is there anything in Andrew Forrest's project so far that suggests that will be the case, at least in the foreseeable future?
I don't know. I mean, the literal simple answer is that we have not seen a hard set of numbers about capital cost, operating cost for any of these things. I mean, you see them floating around from some other companies, and look, it will depend on what happens to the energy markets. But I think it is fair to say that in terms of somebody putting a hard number saying, look, this is how much it's going to cost to build it, and this is how much money you as shareholders will make, we've seen nothing. What happens to energy as a commodity? Look, I mean, I don't know, and it's really easy to be wrong about these things. But what we do know is it's really hard to transport the stuff. You can produce 1 million tonnes in Australia, but you're going to lose a fair bit of it by putting it on a vessel. You can't put it on a vessel like you do with LNG because it needs to be very close to the absolute zero to transport it in liquid form. What you can do is mix it with nitrogen and other things to create ammonia and use that to transport. But by the time you get to that point, your actual energy costs are enormous. The amount of energy losses you have along the way. You have, it comes from solar and wind. And I'm no opponent of renewable energy, but it comes from solar and wind, and that has a capacity factor of, sort of 30 to 40%. So 30-40% of the energy actually comes out. You then use that to produce hydrogen. You waste some energy in the production of hydrogen, and then if you then have to turn that into ammonia for transport, you then waste more energy on that. And by the time you get it out to, let's say, a Japan or a Korea, maybe, I think the estimates that I've seen are you may be getting 15 to 20% of the energy in out the back end to run a power station. I mean, it's when the energy is free or close to free, and that's the argument, it's not necessarily a terrible idea. Is it a commercial idea? We'll find out when we see some numbers, and we simply really haven't at this point.
It's extraordinary, and we're building our future on schemes like this. Unbelievable. Nick Evans, thank you so much again for your time.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks to your viewers.